the one who watches the dream. The old tale of the wandering lantern did not end when the child whispered her first question. If anything, that question was the true beginning. Because the moment she wondered who was outside the window, a silent boundary in the mind shook loose. A Course in Miracles calls that moment a holy instant, when the dream loosens just enough for the light to leak through. The child felt it. A pull, a recognition, a memory she didn't know she remembered. So she kept walking behind the lantern, and the village around her began to behave strangely. Doors opened without hands. Curtains moved without wind. People repeated the same gestures over and over, as if their strings were being pulled by something unseen. It dawned on her that she wasn't walking through a village. She was walking through a projection, images moving on the screen of her own belief. The Course says the world is a dream created by the wish to deceive yourself. Not because the mind is evil, but because it forgot to laugh at the tiny, mad idea of separation. So the lantern showed her the dream figure's life, her own life, like a stage play repeating the same scenes: fear, worry, hope, guilt, striving, disappointment. And she finally asked, "Why does the figure in the bed suffer while the one watching does not?" The lantern brightened, as if delighted she noticed the difference. Because the dream figure was never safe. But the dreamer had never been in danger. The figure in the bed was built out of fear. The one watching was built out of light. The Course would say the figure was made by the ego to preserve the dream, while the dreamer was created by God to remember truth. She kept walking until she reached the town square. There she saw a remarkable sight. A man arguing with a woman, their voices full of heat, their faces twisted with emotion. Yet when the child stepped closer, she realized something astonishing. Their mouths didn't match their words. Their expressions didn't match their feelings. It was as if the arguments were not coming from them, but from the one who believed they were real. And the lantern whispered, "Every conflict in the world is the dreamer fighting its own shadow." She took that in. She saw it everywhere. Fear projected outward, guilt dressed as anger, loneliness dressed as blame. And she asked, if all this is coming from the dreamer, what happens when the dreamer stops believing the dream? With that question, the square began to fade at the edges. Buildings flickered. Streets bent like reflections on water. The dream figure in the window glowed faintly and began to dissolve. The observer, the dreamer, felt more real than the entire world. The lantern led her to the edge of the village where the road ended and the dream thinned into a soft, endless darkness. It wasn't frightening. It was open. It was waiting. And she finally understood. The darkness was not the unknown. It was the unchosen. The dreamer chooses the dream's content, but the observer chooses whether to dream at all. The Course calls forgiveness the key to stepping out of the dream, because forgiveness is the dreamer admitting, "None of this was done to me, I made it up." Not in a blaming way, but in a freeing way. A way that says the images have no power except the power belief lends them. So the child looked again at the dream figure, sleeping, struggling, worrying, hoping, and she felt a deep compassion rise. Because she understood the truth, the dream figure was innocent. The dream figure was only acting out a story the dreamer forgot it wrote. That is why forgiveness releases everything. That is why the Course says the world is forgiven as soon as you forgive yourself. For there is only one dreamer, one mind, one lantern, and one light. The lantern flickered for the final time and the village faded completely. The child stood alone in pure awareness. No figure, no room, no walls. Only the one who watches. Only the one who cannot be harmed. Only the one who cannot die. So ask this now: who is watching the scenes in your life? Who is interpreting them? Who is giving them meaning? And what would happen if the dreamer in you remembered the dream was never real enough to fear? Because when the observer wakes, the dream has nothing left to hold on to. And the one who watches the dream realizes they were always the light behind the lantern.